And my daughter calls me and we had this conversation and I asked her, I said, Lily, I think I might want to give this a shot. And she said, oh, wow, okay.
Kelly, if you were given a choice between working as an executive for $100,000 a year or working as a screenwriter for $25,000 a year, which would you choose?
Well, first of all, executives make a lot more than $100,000 a year. So I actually had to make that decision at the top of 2020 when I was offered a promotion at HBO, and I was going to make $100,000 more than I made currently. And I turned it down because I also, they made me an offer to take a first look writing deal, and I jumped at it, and it was probably half of what I was making. So I've actually had this question in real time, in real life, and there's nothing like it. I would never, I think if I went back and had to do it all over again, I would make the same choice. There's just nothing like waking up every day in pure joy and knowing that the first thing that I get to do is crack open my computer, and the last thing I'm doing all day is, still being, wired into that computer, just downloading everything that's in my head. So there's just getting paid to write. There's just no question.
Do you think you would have really taken that? Let's say, I know you had some jobs out of college where you were, as sort of an admin assistant or helping agents, things like that. But the lure of six figures or more, do you think that it takes time to realize what is important?
Well, let me see if I understand your question. If you're saying that did it take me 30 years to know that I wanted to be a writer? I don't know that I don't think I was consciously aware in all of that time that I was an executive that I was planning on making a transition. I think I had started out as a writer's assistant when I was, just coming out of college. It was I think it was my third job that I'd ever had in the entertainment business. And I knew that I wanted to do that. I wanted to be a part of the creative process. And I tried casting, and I knew that that wasn't really it, even though I loved just the process. I loved the people that I was working with. And I think I was looking for my place. And it felt right because I'd always been writing. I'd been writing, since I was a kid, creating short plays and short stories and, doing all of those things, actually creating a magazine for my family. So I knew that I wanted to somehow channel all of that into writing. But when I was coming out of college, the world was very different than it is now. There just weren't a lot of places for an African-American young woman who wanted to write in the ecosystem. And when I looked around, I didn't see a lot of people who looked like me, either in the executive ranks or as a writer on staff of a show. So I felt as though there were not a whole lot of doors that were open for me. There were not a lot of places that I could go. So I think if the world had been different, if I had come out now as a writer, if I was doing that, and I was 20-something years old and doing it now, boy, sky's the limit. But at the time, I made the best choice that I could with the information that I could and with the knowledge that I needed to make a living and that there were not going to be a lot of opportunities for me. So I do feel as though going into as an executive route was the perfect place for me because I could still work with the creative. I could still be a part of that writing process only from the, hey, let me help you. Let's talk about your project. Let's figure out where you want to go and how to get there. And the packaging part that you do as you're in a network executive or as a feature executive. So I do feel as though it really satisfied a lot of those cravings of working with material. And I think I was really good at it. And I got a chance to see the industry from a very, very different perspective than a lot of writers do. So I saw the inner workings and realized, there's so many different decisions that get in, that are part of the creative process that are on the business side that you don't see as a writer. You only know the work that you've put out, but you don't know all the other things that make into the decision-making process of why this thing moves forward versus something else that doesn't move forward. And then once it does move forward, well, what else do you have to do in order to support that piece of material, from the marketing and advertising and all of the other aspects of it. So I think I got a really great insider view into the business on both the feature side and the TV side that I probably wouldn't have had. So I kind of feel like I got baked in a different way. I was always writing though, and I think that need for me to express myself on the page was always there. So I don't think you have to go through 30 years of, how I did it. That was just a kind of a weird way to, for me to do it. But I know that there's also a very long legacy of executives who turned writers. I don't know that they talk about it, but it's not like I blazed a whole new path. And I do feel like, I sort of got to the right place at the right time.
Okay, so maybe not the 30-year journey, maybe if you were to give advice to someone on a paycheck versus feeling creatively fulfilled.
Well, I think that's always the balance, isn't it? I was actually just talking to a group of people recently about that, art versus commerce, and how much, can you survive on while you were fulfilling your dream, and what does success look like to you? So, there might be writers who are completely content having, doing plays in regional theater, and that's a success as a writer. So I think whatever you feel as though your calling is in this, it doesn't have to be that you're winning an Oscar. It doesn't have to be that you're making a Marvel feature. You can write and be satisfied by that writing and create in so many different ways. And yeah, the money thing is hard. It's harder when you get older. It's certainly harder. If I did this when I was 24 years old and right out of college, and I think my rent at the time, this is back in 80 something, my rent at the time was $450 a month. That was it. That's all I had to make to cover that nut. Now it's like I got a mortgage, I've got 3 kids, there was college education, there's a lot more that, there's car insurance, there's homeowners insurance, there's so many things that just become so much more pressive, and you have to make different choices based on what's coming in and what's not coming in. I have the luxury now of having an expertise in something that people want that then can support me as I also pursue this writing. So if it's a lean month, I'll have something to fall back on. That's the benefit, and I think also my age, at my age now, there's a I don't know if it's like a feeling of being settled and knowing that you have worth and you have value that I don't think I had when I was in my 20s. In my 20s, I thought, oh, it's going to be my last job ever. It was always the thing. Oh my God, they're never going to hire me. I'm never going to work again. You don't have that when you're in your 50s because you've got something that you're bringing to the table.
What about peer pressure, family pressure to make money? Or maybe it's not even spoken. It's just, oh, hey, it's a family get together and so, they're partner at a new firm. And what are you up to? That kind of thing where, right. You feel like you have to explain yourself.
I think I have the benefit of coming from a family that's incredibly supportive. And my mother, who is my biggest cheerleader, and every single morning, calls me up and says, calls me her precious child and just thinks that I'm a genius. So I think that helps. And when I made this decision to jump off the edge of the cliff, I know exactly when it was. I could probably even pinpoint the day and the moment because it was very, very important to me. I happened to be at Sundance. I was in the Episodic Lab. This is 2019. It was in October. It was the day before we were going to finish the program. And it probably was a Saturday, actually, if I'm really being specific. And I was in line to get dinner. It was a buffet line. And my daughter calls me and we had this conversation. And I asked her, I said, Lily, I think I might want to give this a shot. And she said, oh, wow, okay. She said, if not now, Mom, when? And for me, I was like, I birthed the right child because I said, look, we might actually end up having to make some choices financially. Because look, I was coming off of a really nice SVP job at a major studio, network. And she just said, hey, we'll be okay. We'll figure it out. And at this point, I think my kids were I think I was probably, I don't know, I'm trying to think if I just graduated from my MFA program, or I think I had just graduated from my MFA program and my kids were still in school. So they were still, you know, it was their last year of college, and I think her last year of maybe of her graduate school. And again, I feel like there was just this understanding that we could all figure it out together, and that it wasn't that important, that the trappings of life, the cars, the house, the whatever, the vacations that we would go on, were just not that important compared to mom finding herself. And I just couldn't have asked for a better support system. So I do feel as though when you're somebody who doesn't have that, when you have to really struggle and you have to do that for yourself, you do need to find people who are going to acknowledge your dream and support your dream and to encourage your dream. Because I think that a lot of writers, I think that's probably the biggest thing. That's one of the biggest hurdles. I think imposter syndrome and the fact that no one's in your corner saying, hey, keep going, that's what makes us give up, right? That's what makes us feel like, you know, maybe we're, you know, charging in the wrong direction, or we're not on the right path, because there are all these pressures. There are all these people who you know, until you've made something, until you've gotten that acknowledgement, you don't know if you're doing the right thing. You just don't know. And I think I've seen a lot of interviews with a lot of people who have made it, and they still don't know. They still worry. They still don't know if what they have created is anything that's worthy of being seen or shown or read. So I do feel as though you got to close that gap someplace. And luckily I had a whole team of people who were willing to help me close that gap. Does
Lily want to be a writer? Creative?
You know, I keep asking Lily if she would do it. She's a beautiful writer. She had to write. She went to college and got a degree in American Studies and film. And the pieces that she wrote were just wonderful. It drives her bananas. She doesn't love the process. But I think that's also maybe a factor of age as well, because at that age, for me, writing was a chore. And I did not enjoy it. Now I enjoy it. Now I enjoy the cracking it open, trying to figure out the pieces of the puzzle that make it work. So it might be that she will get to there eventually, which she is amazing at. And by the way, she's my assistant now, and I'd be lost without her. But what she's amazing at is finding material. So she will, because she's an avid reader, and I believe she and her sister Sarah last year read between 35 and 38 books. And that's just them. They just churn and consume material. And she found me a project that ended up getting an offer from a studio. So she's really good, and I really trust her instincts. So I would love it if she would write. I'm not sure that she will. But I'm also seeing I would push her to, if she wanted to be a development executive, she'd be great at it.